Do aesthetics matter on Instagram? It's a question that I think goes along in the minds of every single business owner that has an Instagram account, trying to work out what is the balance between spending heaps of time putting together really beautiful content, posting content at all, or just giving up altogether and not worrying about Instagram. So as someone who has run a business for 10 years, and those 10 years I have been on Instagram, so I've seen it from when it was very different to what it is now, all the way through all of its changes. And as someone who has also helped multiple hundreds of businesses and their Instagrams, I wanted to give you some insights that I've learned along the way, some tips from a graphic designer who knows what works and what doesn't work, and what you should be prioritizing. And it might surprise you, some of the things that I say. Some of the things aren't as hard as you think, and some of the things I think you'll really enjoy and find really inspiring, and hopefully will give you some good tools for what you can do in your business to make sure that you're making the most of Instagram, but not wasting hours and hours on Canva trying to get it perfect. All right, let's dive in. So hi, if we haven't met before, my name is Jacqui, and I am a professional graphic designer who just loves teaching business owners how they can take advantage of doing their own graphics themselves using programs like Canva, taking advantage of Instagram, all of those different things. And so in today's video, I want to really go deep into what should you focus on? Should your Instagram aesthetic matter? If it does, how much does it matter? And what things to focus on versus what not to focus on? Because you as a business owner have wildly limited time, and I want to make sure that you are putting your time into the right places. So let's dive in. First, I want to talk about the do's and don'ts of your Instagram, and the aesthetics in particular. Obviously, content is the king, but Instagram aesthetics obviously is a great pair and a match to that. And so I wanted to give you some things to think about as you're working this through. You've got your Instagram. You may have barely started it. You may be totally into using it for years and years. Maybe it already looks amazing. Maybe it doesn't look amazing. What I want you to think about is really what's going to help someone want to follow you, and what's going to capture someone's attention after they follow you to keep on being interested and engaged in your content. Those are the most important things around your Instagram. And so those are things we want to focus on. We don't want to be thinking and spending our time making things perfect just for the sake of it. We're making things perfect. I'm going to even tell you, like on the do's and don'ts list, there is a thing that says not perfect. We want to focus on not having things perfect, because that's not going to grow your business. Being really strategic is going to grow your business. And so some things I want you to think about and to actually do in your business is to first make sure that your Instagram grid, so by Instagram grid, I'm meaning this thing here. So this is a screenshot from my Instagram. If you go to your actual profile, the grid is what all of your posts look like all of together, and they'll be just in a group of three across, and then scrolling down for as long as you've been having Instagram for and you haven't deleted your posts. If you scroll down on my Instagram, you'll see all the different iterations of my brand from the very beginning all the way till now. It will take you a little while, so probably don't do that. But what I want you to focus on is firstly having your overall brand. If you don't have an overall visual brand for your business, go back and watch the thousands of other videos that I've done. Hundreds of other videos that I've done, and learn to create your own visual brand. Having a visual brand is really, really important, not just for Instagram, but for a whole plethora of reasons. It's going to help you to look professional. It's going to help you to save time when designing, because no longer are you deciding, what color is this post or this design going to be today? All of the decisions around color, style, fonts, logo, all of those decisions are already made. So having that consistent brand is going to save you so much time. It also helps your brand to be recognizable and for people to build loyalty to your brand, because when they see it, they're beginning to form a connection with it. You think about all the classic brands like Coca-Cola and Starbucks and like KFC, like everything. We can picture those brands in an instant because they've used those brands and those logos and those colors and those fonts consistently. So you can do that on a smaller scale with your own brand. And so with your Instagram, you want to push into this as well. You want to have posts and graphics on your Instagram that reflect your visual brand, because not only will it help with all those things I've just listed of consistency and loyalty and saving you time, it's also going to help to tell your brand's visual story. Because if you've actually thought through your branding when you're actually first creating it, there's a reason you've chosen those colors. There's a reason you've chosen those fonts, because it conveys a certain emotion, or it helps people feel a certain way, or it shows that you're a luxe product or a cheap service or whatever it is. Making sure that your branding reflects those things is really important. And so when you use those things consistently, when you use your branding consistently, it means that when someone sees your brand, it's also telling the story of your price point, of who your audience is, of what you're about, of all of these different things. And so using that consistently on Instagram too, a big deal. but we don't want to play with that too much. So what I recommend doing is using things consistently, creating things to match your overall brand, but building in a rough pattern to your brand, that to your Instagram grid that's not like wildly like perfect. I don't want you to focus on perfection. I want you to focus on an overall vibe. That's where the magic is. And I'm going to show you some really great examples of that soon and what that actually looks like in practice. But I just want to mention that now as a seed, that your grid doesn't need to be perfect. It shouldn't be perfect. It shouldn't even be as curated as my grid. As a graphic designer and as someone who teaches branding, I focus a lot on the aesthetics. But I don't think an everyday business owner should focus as much as I do on that. So don't follow me and be like, oh, I want to be like as perfect as Jacqui. That's wasting your time. It's not needed. My Instagram grid isn't only just doing the normal things that an Instagram grid does for someone, it's also being a folio of my work and my skills as a graphic designer. So that's why mine needs to be better than just an everyday business owner's. So remember that too. And what I want you to do instead of focusing on those aesthetics 100% is focusing on the quality of your content. That's going to be what draws people in. That's going to be what holds people there, is the quality, not the aesthetics, unless you're an aesthetic brand and that's the whole purpose of your feed. So thinking those things through is really important. So that means that you're not focusing on aesthetics and perfection. Those are not your focuses. You might have an idea in the background of your mind of the aesthetics, but it's not your focus. If you're getting stuck creating a perfect grid, then you are wasting time in your business, time that should be spent on more important tasks like emailing that lead that contacted you a week ago that you're too scared to get back to, or writing out an email to your newsletter list, whether it's 20 people or whether that's 2,000 people. Doing things that actually move the needle forward in your business rather than spending that extra half an hour tweaking that one Instagram post that's going to be seen by 10 people to be that slightly bit better. Good is better, and good and done is better than perfect. Remember that so much in your business Instagram journey. And don't plan rigidly for your grid. Don't plan unless you're planning out a month or two of content at a time. You don't need to plan things really rigidly. It just wastes your time and it holds you back. So the things you do want to focus on when you are thinking about your Instagram grid are a couple of these things. It's thinking about, if someone was to first come to your Instagram grid, is it clear what you do? Can they tell at a glance that you are a coach? Can they tell at a glance that you are a beauty therapist? Can they tell at a glance that you are teach recipes? Whatever it is, I want you to know. I want you to think through from the lens of a complete outsider. If they were to stumble across your grid, whether they found you on a reel or whether they found you someone's word of mouth, if they come to your page, is it clear what you do at a glance? Is the content really obvious of what you do? So thinking about like text large enough that they can actually read it from your grid without having to go into all of your posts, and they can actually see, oh, this is a graphic designer, or this is a food coach, or this is a that, or this is a photographer, making sure that they can tell from just glancing at your grid what you do. Your bio is also going to help with that. That's the text that sits on top of your grid. I'm not going to go into that today. I've gone into it in other videos, but it's also not my specialty, so I don't want to go into it too much. But in essence, when someone comes to your page, can they tell what you do? Like if you even look at mine, I'm trying to work out if you can tell. DIY brand success, that's a pretty good piece of wording there. If you don't need a designer, if designer is a key word in there. Good visual brand, that's another thing in there. Canva's in there as well. And so you can hopefully tell just by glancing at the images on my grid without even going into any of my posts what I do as a business. And so making sure that when someone comes to your page, they can tell that too. And obviously your grid is constantly changing. You are constantly having new posts going up. So making sure that you continue to prioritize that over and over again. Every single post doesn't need to be wildly clear, but if every 1 in 3 posts has a bit of some key wording or some key messaging around what you do, it's going to be really clear when someone comes to your page. I also want you to think through, is there a reason for someone to hit follow? So someone's got to your page, they've worked out what you do. Is there a reason? Is there something that's pushing them to say, actually, I really want to hang around on this person's page. I want to make sure I don't miss what they're doing. And you want to make sure that you're sharing some sort of value, or that there's something in there, there's something in it for them. There's a reason they want to hit that follow button. And so are you sharing, is it educational content or really great tips and tricks for your certain thing? Like obviously you don't need to posting all educational content, and I believe in making sure you have some different pillars around that educational content, around your selling content, around testimonials, around all these different things. But making sure that there's something in there regularly enough that that's in that for just someone wanting to hit follow for the first time before they've gotten to know you. And so making sure that there's some questions in there that they might want answers to, or some designs that help them to realize that actually, yeah, I'm going to learn something from this person. So making sure that you've thought about that too. Is your text large enough to read from the grid? So making sure that someone doesn't have to go into your post to understand what you have to share. And is it consistent with your branding, and is it attractive? So is the branding, that there's a few parts to this. One, is it consistent with your visual brand in general? Secondly, is the overall vibe consistent overall? Like, is there a consistency in the way that it looks? I'm going to show you some less curated feeds to give you some more ideas on this. And is it generally attractive? Like, is someone, it doesn't have to be a work of art. You're not a graphic designer, but is it attractive enough that someone wants to be near it? Like, you don't have to have it perfection, but it does need to be something that's not ugly and repulsive, if that makes sense. So just making sure that it's got enough to it that people want to be a part of it. All right, so next, I just want to mention really quickly about the grid crop. So you've got your Instagram grid, and hopefully by now you may know that Instagram allows you to do what's called portrait posts. Portrait posts are taller than a square, and it means that it's taking up more space when someone's scrolling. So when you post your post and someone's scrolling on their feed, your post will take up more space than a general square. However, as you know, when you look at your grid, it's still all cropped to a square, at least at the time of recording this. And so making sure that you've considered, like, how are things cropping and how are they looking on my grid? Is my face being cut off because I put my head up here, or is some really key wording being cut off because I put the wording really close to the edge of where a square would go? I've just uploaded a tutorial on this, the previous tutorial you're watching to this one. I'll try to link it in the little boxy thing up here somewhere. That will show you how you can properly make that inside Canva to make sure it crops well to your grid, but also looks really great as that portrait post. All right. Next is also your photos. So if you're a general business, you're probably not going to be posting so many curated graphics as I am, but maybe more photos. And I've actually started posting more photos in my grid. I'll show you you'll see it in this version here. Every third or fourth picture, I'm posting a photo. But posting photos is really great because it's content you don't necessarily have to design. It also helps to build recognition of you as the brand and the business owner. Or if you're just posting photos in general, like say you've got a product business and you're posting photos of your product or whatever that is, making sure that the pictures are actually good quality. They don't have to be like professional quality if you don't have the budget for that yet. However, if you do have the budget for that, it is definitely something to invest in quite early in business. If you are a service provider, like a business coach or a health coach or something like that, then having professional photos of yourself is just a really great way to form rapport, because if someone's going to be working with you as a business coach, they're going to be working with you. And so getting to know you is really helpful. And so having professional photos of yourself that you can use really regularly is not only going to save you time because you've just got a whole bank of photos that you can use, but it also helps people to get to know you really well. And so focus on grabbing some professional photos if you can. If you can't, these photos here were just taken on my phone. All these first four were just taken on my phone. But you can see the difference between what I wanted to share around these. So this one's not a great photo. I would not post this on my grid because it's too close to my face. It's awkwardly close. The camera lens is dirty. You can see this little smudge of the light here. That means that I didn't literally clean my lens, like literally clean the lens of your phone camera if you're using your phone camera before you take any photo. This goes for life as well, but just remember that. Also, the difference between using your front camera and your back camera, I'd recommend using your back camera if you're going to be doing actual photos of yourself. Instagram stories and stuff, that's a whole different issue. But just doing general photos of yourself for your Instagram feed, try taking them with your back camera. You can set up a timer on your phone and then really put yourself where there's some good lighting. So if you've got a window over here, put that towards you, at least not behind you. Anywhere from here to here with the window is perfect. Don't take your photos at nighttime unless you have really great light setup, and then making sure that that light is not coming from behind you, because that will make you look not good lighting in general, put some weird shadows in your face and make the image really dark. And so you can see here that I've taken that image, that there's a window right in front of me here. And that's quite a good image. Like if you posted that, cool, that's okay. Or if you want to go a step further, there are free programs like Adobe Lightroom or even just editing inside Canva, where you can apply some effects, apply some filters, just lighten the brightness and the contrast a little bit, and that will make a big difference to your photo. So doing that as before you post as well can just make a big difference. Then if you want to go a step further, you could apply your branding to it. Like if you have some fun branding elements, apply those to it. But that doesn't need to happen. Like you can see I've got a tick here and a tick here because both of these are still good things to post. Or like for me, I got a professional suite of photos taken, and that's like I have literally hundreds of images that I can then post for my business. I don't have to plan or edit or do anything. I've done all that work literally over a year ago. I'm still using all these photos and I haven't gotten through a quarter of them. And then I can use those as a business owner to save myself time and create a professional look for my business. So photos is really important. All right, so next you want to think through making sure that you have consistent branding. It doesn't have to be, as I said, perfectly curated, but there needs to be some pattern in there. Like if you're using a color, use a brand color. If you're using a font, use your brand font. If you're using a style or an element, use one of your branding elements. Again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, head back to some of my previous videos where I talk about branding and you'll get to build some of this out yourself. Or if you really want some help that's actually really succinct rather than trying to sort through all of my different videos, I actually have a free 3-part video series. They're just as short as YouTube videos, but they're not on YouTube. They are private videos. There's 3 20-minute videos, and they're going to take you through thinking about your brand, planning your brand and actually creating really, really solid graphics that look good. So I actually highly recommend stopping this video almost now if you want to, or finishing this video and going straight to do that rather than sorting through all my YouTube videos and actually watching this 3-part video series. It's totally free. All you have to do is pop your email in and I'll send you the first video like instantly, and you can binge all 3 videos straight away if you want to. There's some extra resources in there for you too. And so doing those will really help you to plan a really great and consistent brand. And that way you can then apply that branding to your Instagram so it really looks professional, consistent, and cohesive and begins to be really recognizable for your audience. So thinking through your clear branding is important. But what I want to really talk to you about before we get into some practices of laying out your grid is ways to lay out your grid. So in my mind, there are 4 different ways you can lay out your Instagram grid: puzzle, alternate, random, and rhythmic. This is the top one that I 100% recommend to nearly every single business owner, but I wanted to show you these ones here and their pros and cons. So you could also add those to your thinking as well. So the first one here is puzzle. Puzzle is this idea that the posts themselves are connected to each other. If I came across a brand that looked like this, I would probably not hit follow as a consumer because I do not want to see a post that's just the edge of a tree and the Instagram handle. That's not supporting my life at all as a consumer. And so when you're doing puzzle posts, really think about, is every single post that I'm sharing actually helping my audience, or is it just kind of like some filler in pieces to make it look cute on my overall grid? And if you are doing that, like some of these posts here, lots of these, every single one of these is really beautiful and really full of value. However, the planning behind this is just not practical for most business owners. If it supports you to do it, then go for it. But in essence, you have to have planned this post here before you can post this post here. I don't know about you, but I'm not planning that many posts in advance. And even if I do, I still want the flexibility that if, say, for example, tomorrow, I think like say I plan a whole month worth of content, but tomorrow this really incredible thing happens and I want to share that with my Instagram on my post, then I have to reshuffle my entire structure of my entire like plan of my puzzle posts before I can even post that. And it's just not practical. So I don't recommend a puzzle layout at all. Next up is random. This works for some feeds like a humor feed or a celebrity feed, but I don't think it has a place in too many businesses' feeds. So it's just not got any consistency. This is a business owner and she does okay with it. She does quite well with it actually. So it's not to say that you cannot do it this way. I just don't think that as a general business owner, we kind of need to work towards what's working easiest rather than making things harder for ourselves. And I think having some sort of aesthetic to our grid, while it doesn't have to be perfect, does help with building brand recognition and consistency and does all those good things. So I don't recommend random either. Next up is alternate, which is actually what I do, but it's not what I recommend, which I find interesting. And people are like, oh, but I'm like, I just it doesn't work for me. I'm going to tell you why, because obviously alternate is my second top recommendation, but not what I recommend for most business owners. Alternate is this idea that you're repeating a design every second or third or fourth post. So this one here, this was my old Instagram from say 5 years ago now, where I had a hot pink, white, hot pink, white, hot pink, white, hot pink, white, and that was kind of like the way that it would go. I now do it where it's peach, blue, purple photo, peach, blue, purple photo, peach, blue, purple photo. And that's what helps me to create that consistent look in my grid. I've tried so many times to do the recommended version I'm going to share with you next of Rhythmic, but it just doesn't work for my brain. So if you want to create a brand, but the Rhythmic one I'm going to suggest to you next isn't working for you in the way that you post, then you can do this one. The reason I don't recommend doing alternate is because you have to be planned, and that's not what, or actually no, you can't be planned. For example, I can't plan, it's kind of similar to what I said with the puzzle piece. I can't plan a whole month's worth of content and then have this epiphany tomorrow to post this really cool idea. I would have to take out a graphic that I was going to post to be able to make sure that I could stay with my Rhythmic order. And so thinking about, am I someone who likes to plan in advance? And if I am, then doing the alternate version probably won't work too well. But for me, because I don't plan too much in advance, this kind of just works. I just look at my feed. I'm like, all right, tomorrow I'm posting a purple post. That's what I'm going to design today, because I don't work far in advance. And so it works like that okay for me. But if you are someone who likes to plan your content in advance, which I do recommend because it is quicker, you can batch like a whole, like 2 weeks worth of content or even a week's worth of content. Whereas if you have a really rigid pattern like I've got here with the alternate, then you need to, then there's no space for that that immediacy of changing things up. So what I do recommend is what's called Rhythmic, and this works for most business owners, I find really, really well. Rhythmic is this idea where there's no rigid pattern, but it does all obey your brand rules. And so this one here, this is one of my clients, Louise. She made this grid herself in one of my courses. And pretty much in fact, I should see what she's done lately. This is quite an old screenshot. she's done, like, you can see there's pink, there's blue, there's a mix of photos. These aren't like professional photos, but they are nicely lit and nice enough photos that begin to tell the story of her brand and help people to connect with her. She's connecting with mums. And these posts, like, there's not like 3 or 4 like really dark posts after each other. That there's this alternating rhythmic pattern to it that always obeys her branding, but it's a little bit different and it's not too repetitive. Same with Darian here. She has this really beautiful, there's no structured pattern to this, but every single post is obeying her grid. And you can see here, like with this photo here, it's not a professional photo, it's just a photo she's taken with her iPhone, but she's added some branding elements to that and it's made it fit a little bit better. Or she's just posted a plain photo by itself too. That's totally okay. And this is on my client's Ali. We do a couple of templates for her, but Ali overall just looks after her grid and she's mostly posting photos, but you can see they've all got a similar look to them. They're all quite warm. So this is a professional photo, but this isn't. This is not a professional. This is not professional. This is not professional. This is not professional. This is professional. And so you can still see that even the professional photos versus not still have that similar vibe to them and that similar editing style to them. So there's that consistency there. And the colors, like, the colours are still, like, her colours are purple and tan. There's still purple and tan elements in a lot of these photos to help everything to be drawn in, but it's not wildly curated. And I think people appreciate that. I think we think that it needs to be perfectly curated sometimes, but I also think that that turns people off. They want a feed that doesn't look like it's been put together by some fancy graphic designer. They want a feed that looks real. And so having this rhythmic style where it's not perfectly curated, but does still make sense and it does still look considered like a business should be. A business should be considered and planned. It's really, really great. And so I really love this one. I've got some more examples for you here because I think this is just so great. These are like all really successful business owners and they all have this more rhythmic look. Like even this one here, there's like none of these photos are professional photos except for this one here. They're just screenshots from her reels, but those reels are designed consistently. Like it's got a white text box with the exact same font or a black text box and a white, like everything is like there's this consistency, like the same font, same font, same font, same font, same font, same Instagram font, same Instagram font, same Instagram font, and a similar kind of style. She wears browns and blacks and whites. And so how can you use that consistency to create that overall look, but not so rigidly that you can't share or you can't even just use a real screenshot? I personally design lots of, like, if I go back to one of mine here, I personally design reel covers to go on top of all my reels, but I actually don't think that that's the best way to do things from an engagement perspective. I think doing exactly what this lady's done, where she's just got a screenshot from her reel, makes the most sense because it means that when someone views your reel and they might go back to your grid, they can really see not only what all your other reels are about really quickly, but they can get an idea of which one they just watched. They can get an idea of some other ones that are very similar in the same family of reels. And so using a screenshot from your reel is totally okay to do for your reel covers, but it needs to be done in the way that she's done it here, where it's all consistent in the way that it's looked, in the way that it's edited, in the way that it's filmed, and in the way that the text is being placed on top. Similar here with Emily, she's got, like, this is just kind of a screenshot from a reel, but some professional photos mixed in. Everything is consistent in the way that it looks. There's the blues, there's the pinks, there's the bold fonts, but it's not rigid in any sort of way. It looks considered, but it doesn't look perfect. Same with this lady here. It's really about making sure that we're getting this consistency across, but we're not being rigid about it because that just wastes our time and doesn't even probably connect with our audience because it feels too structured. And the last thing I wanted to mention before I get into some design stuff is also, well done for sticking with me. I know this video is going for a little while, but there's so much I wanted to teach you in this, and so I really hope it's been helpful for you. The biggest thing I wanted to share with you is that all of these designs, it works because there's no repetition of the actual layout of the post over and over again. Like say with this one here, she doesn't have like three real screenshots that are identical. She's got one with the text at the top in white, one with the text on the bottom, a professional photo. Like there's not this like same kind of post over and over again. None of these have the same kind of post over and over again. And that's what makes it look really great. There's nothing that's too consistent that it feels actually boring to look at. If someone was to come to your feed and every post looks quite similar, then it actually means that they're probably not going to hit follow because everything looks boring. It doesn't look like there's anything new that's going to happen. Why would they hit follow when they can just see everything you've already posted because it's going to be the same? So just making sure that you're playing with the sizing of the text, the layout of the text, the background colors of the text boxes, the background colors of the text, not having photos over and over again unless you're just a photo feed, doing things that are kind of have that difference in it to help people be interested and not feel bored by your content. So now I want to go into Canva and show you a brand new feature feature that is just been released by Canva, and I thought you might really enjoy it for this exact topic. And so that is Instagram grid templates. If you search Instagram grid just at the top of your Canva, then you'll see all of these templates come up that Canva has produced. And this is a really great step for you to be able to plan out your grid. I do not think that you need to plan out your grid so that you have to plan it out all the time. This is just when you're first kind of deciding what your grid might want to look like. Maybe you're deciding on your brand, or maybe you're just getting into Instagram for the first time. Maybe you're actually wanting to step your Instagram level up a little bit. Do this planning stage, but then leave it. Don't come back to this all the time, constantly planning and making it perfectly curated. There is no point. When I'm actually designing my Instagram, all I do is I just go to the last post that I've done. I just go to the last post that I've done and see what the post is, and I choose a post that's not going to be looking identical to that. So you don't have to go through and plan everything. And if you've done that really more rhythmic style design, like even if I go to Ali's post over here, like Ali might just go to her grid and be like, oh, I haven't done a dark purple full post for a while. Maybe that can be my next post. Or I haven't done a tan post with some text for a while. Maybe that can be my next post. Or if you were Louise here and you were up to here, you might say, oh, I just won't do another pink post next because I've done a lot of pink posts lately. So just looking at what you've done recently and just not doing identical to that, that's all the planning you need to do once you've got your rhythm sorted. And so when you're doing this Instagram planning using this Instagram grid design, do this at the start, but don't get focused on it so much that you're rigidly using it over and over again, because it's just not practical as a business owner. You have better things to be spending your time on. So I'm just going to click on any of these will be fine. I'm going to click on this one here because I love that it's got a little bit extra going on with it. So I'm going to press customize this template, and then feel free to write in here like your own white dear. GD stands for graphic design, in case you didn't know. People always ask me that. You could put your display picture in here if you wanted to. You can add in your different Instagram bio in here. You could add in your website in here, and it starts to get its full kind of look going. But obviously I want you to focus on this grid down here and working out how can you put stuff in here to begin to get a bit of a picture of what you want your grid to look like. So for me, I like to use a combination of photos and of text, and I really recommend that for most business owners as well. You can do mostly photos or mostly text ones and change up the ratios of those things, but whatever works for the kind of content you're wanting to post. And again, content is king. If you have rubbish content but beautiful posts, it's not going to help your business to grow. You need to combine great content with great design. So for me, I have a folder on my Canva or a design on my Canva that's got all of my Instagram posts. This is, say, for Q1. I've actually just duplicated my Q4 posts from last year, and I'm going to then go in and change those and edit those as I go. In essence, if you have a design that's got all of your different posts on it from lately, grab that or create one and start to create some posts. The best way to get to know your brand and actually create a brand is to create some test graphics with that brand and create some posts and be like, all right, I'm going to use this color and these fonts. Is that actually working? And can I create enough variation in that to create some beauty? And so doing that is really great. And so if you've got a thing like me where you've got a few different posts, you obviously don't need to have 50 designs, but you might have 3 designs. Just press share and then download these just as a PNG or a JPEG is totally fine. And you can go in here and select which pages you want. So say I might want this one and this one. And maybe I choose some different colors as well. Let's go this one, this one. Those were the same colors, but I liked the content on them. Right, let's go for those ones. Done. I'm going to just download those to my computer so I can upload them back into this grid layout design. I'm just uploading those designs into my uploads section over here. And that way I can then drag these images into my grid to see what things look like together. So say, for example, I drag this in, then I drag this in, then I drag this in, and then I drag this in, and this in, and this in. And I realize, firstly, they've popped some effects over this. If you find you've got some effects being placed over your designs, just go to Edit Image, and then go to Adjust, and go Reset Adjustments. And that way it's going to take off that black and white filter. So I'm going to do that for this one and this one. Anyway, so you can see here that I popped some of these designs in, but it's actually looking a little bit samey. It's looking, there's a lot of the same color over and over again. So maybe like, maybe I might change it up a little bit. I'm going to actually go, I have a whole photo of my photos, a whole folder of my photos from my photo shoots. I might just grab in some of those instead. Maybe I pop that one there. Maybe I put this one here. Maybe go back to my uploads and grab in, what's another post I haven't used yet? Let's pop this one over here. Now that's a lot of purple in that one section though. So maybe I change that up to have this one here. And then maybe popping this photo of myself down here. That's starting to come together a little bit. I actually like the lightness of that photo there. And you can see that there's actually no rigid pattern to what I've got going on here, but like there's 2 photos together, or there's there's no real pattern with the colors going on, but it still looks considered and thought through. And so just working out how you can lay out your grid in that kind of way, and you'll see that there's some good levels of text, there's some imagery, and some of my designs, there's some designed photos, or there's some mainly text designs. So just using that variation of changing out the different kinds of layouts, having some layouts that are mostly text heavy, some layouts that are mostly image heavy, some that have a little bit of a mix of both, and that's going to help your designs to your feed not to look super boring. And so using that planner can be really, really helpful just to help your designs and to help you picture what your grid will actually look like before you start using it. But then once you start using it, it's so easy to just be like, all right, I haven't done a purple post in a while, let's do that now. Or I haven't done a photo in a while, let's do that now. And so doing that kind of thing will be really helpful. Or if you like to plan out your content month by month, you're welcome to use this kind of thing each month and get really rigid in your structure. But again, I don't think that's going to help to build your business. I think what's going to really help to build your business is focusing on keeping it branded, focusing on keeping it looking professional, but focusing more on good content and spending your time then in other places. Like your post shouldn't be taking you more than 10, 15 minutes to design unless it's quite an intricate post with like some really intricate graphics kind of happening. Other than that, it should be really quick. And so don't let aesthetics take you away from the most important things in your business. So thank you for joining me today. Making sure as well, if you haven't spent time focusing on thinking about your branding, that you join that free Seriously in Business Challenge, that 3-part video series, jumping onto that, and that will help you to plan. It also has some really great design principles and lessons and learnings and Canva hacks in there as well, all for free. Or if you're ready to step things up a notch and you want some actual more support, I've got a whole DIY course that I can actually jump in and help you with this stuff. Or if you want to hand everything over, I have a studio team that can help you to do that as well. All the links to those things will be in the description. So thank you for joining me. Let me know what other tutorials you'd like to see in the comments below, and let me know what you learnt from this video as well. I would love to know. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.